Today we're going to learn the basic features of Kofax Power PDF Standard. What I'll do is I'll go through each of the tabs on the top, the menu options, and we'll go through all the options in each one of those. The first option we're going to look at is what types of new files you can create and the different options that is available to you. If you go into the File menu, you'll see under New that there's options such as From File, Blank PDF, From Clipboard, from Web Page, From Scanner. The main thing to understand is that this is where you would just create a new file. I know most of the files that you're gonna receive, or you're not going to be creating files. You're just going to open files. But there are going to be times when you're going to want to create PDFs from multiple files, combine files, those types of things, or actually for either presentations or for matter requirements. You may want to pull in information from a web page. So I'll go over these real quick. The From File option, you create a PDF from a single file. This allows you to create a PDF from like a Word document or anything that you would normally go into where you would say print and then you would print it to PDF to create the PDF. The second option is create PDFs from multiple files. This one allows you to combine PDFs or you can add several Word documents and create PDFs from them. So what we're going to do though is we're going to actually use this as an example to show you how you can combine PDFs. So when you bring up this little window, you'll go to the Add button. You'll go to your folder where you have your PDFs listed. And I'm using copies of the Congressional Record as my sample files instead of like actual legal documents. So for this one, I'm going to combine the Congressional Record from June 1st for the House and for the Senate. And I'm going to open both of those. And so when you click OK, you'll see that they're both listed here. Now, the PDF is created in the order that the documents are listed. So this has the House first and then the Senate first. If we want to change this around, we can click here to highlight the Senate and we can move that up. So now the Senate will be the first document that's created. So then you go down here and here's your options for create a PDF for each input document, which we're not going to do because there are already PDFs. Combine files into one PDF document, which is what we are going to do. So we highlight that option. Underneath that is the quality settings, standard, draft, publishing. I can't see an instance where you're not going to want to just go with the standard quality. It makes for a smaller file size and the documents are certainly clean and easy to read. So we have that highlighted. So now we're ready to create our combine our PDF. So there's a little start button here. We click on that. It says, what do you want to call this? We're going to call this Congressional Record Combined. Click on Save, and it creates it. And it always gives you a status as to what it's doing. So if there's ever an error, you'll see at what point the error is. But this looks like it worked out pretty well. So this is the document it created, the size of the document, and now we can, if we want to, open the file. So here's the file that's opened. An easy way to see that it's combined for this particular document is if we go here to the top to document assembly, which I'll cover this in a little bit. But here you can see that the first 12 pages are the Senate Congressional Record, and then the last 4 are for the House for that particular day. So this is how we know that they're combined. So really, if we go back to the new menu, we can see that these options here were covered in this little box that comes up. Basically, those are the same options right there. So there's several different ways of doing this. So now we go back to the File menu, and under New, we're going to look here on the left-hand side. There is an option here for a blank PDF. I don't know that if anyone is going to have the need to create a blank PDF, but if you do, it's here. It's easy to do. Okay, so there it is. There's a blank PDF. You can add your paragraphs. You can do your alignments, that type of stuff. Borders, if you want to put that stuff in it. And then you can save it as a blank PDF when you're done. We're not going to save this one. Okay, back here. Scanner. Those of you that have desktop scanners, I know you typically scan from the HP scanner software. But I can go over this with you individually to set up the the proper settings for your scanner so that you can actually scan from this software and it'll create a PDF directly from the scanner. So again, it's a personal preference thing, but if you want to try to keep everything into the one program and not have to use the HP software, you can do it this way. And like I said, let me know and I'm happy to set you up with that. The last option on this page is to create a PDF from a web page. Again, with our example of the congressional record. This is the website. There's PDF versions, but as you can see, this is kind of a web-based version of the congressional record. So what we're going to do here, and you can do this for any web page, is you copy the URL, the web address, and then you go back into here and you paste the web address. Now underneath here for settings, when it says get only one level, that means the information you see on the first page. If you say you want to get 2 levels, then it'll get you the first page and then anything that is linked from that page. So it could get like super huge. So unless you have a reason to get the entire site or to farm a website for a ton of data, you really only want to do the get only one level. You can leave these unchecked. This is just related to whether the program is going to download only from like congress.gov or if there's additional servers that are linked to, whether it'll get it from there. So just leave that like it is here. And then click on create. And so now it's creating it. You can see it's loading here. It's converting it. Okay, so here we go. Here's the PDF version of this site. And you can see it's really clean. A lot of times if you try to go in and you print a page from a website, it looks sloppy or it's chopped off on the side. This comes out pretty good. The other thing you'll notice here on the left-hand side, which we'll get into later, are bookmarks. And the bookmarks basically just jump to different parts of the page. The reason there's bookmarks that are built in here on the website is that the software reads that there's bookmarks that are actually part of the web page. So it reads those in. When we do bookmarks, we're going to actually create them ourselves. Okay, so now we're on the home menu. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pull up a sample document. This is the large congressional record. Basically, this is a congressional record, I think, for the whole month of June. So we're going to be working with this one for a little bit. Okay, if you go across here, we're going to go from left to right on almost all these menus. The first option here under home is extract, and basically this allows you to extract pages from the document you have. So this document is 429 pages. We're going to extract the first 5 pages. So let's say I'm working on a document and I really only need, a handful of pages in the middle. I don't need the entire thing. So for this, I'm only going to go with pages 1 through 5. That's all I really care about. So I go here, extract pages. I make sure range is highlighted. I click OK. So you'll see that up top here, this was my original 429 page document. The extracted document, it creates that and it's 1 through 5. The other way of doing this, if we go back to our large document, is you can go here and you go back up here to document assembly, which is basically just all your thumbnails. So document assembly allows you to highlight multiple pages. So if I do control click, I can highlight individual pages, or I can do shift click and I can highlight a bunch of pages at one time, which is kind of standard for Windows. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight, let's see, we'll do page 1, page 2, page 11, page 12, page 21, page 22. So we want to extract just these pages from this 429 page document. We highlight them under document assembly. We go back into extract. Now you can see it's changed to selected. It just assumes that I want to extract these pages I just selected. So I click OK. And now we have a third document up here. We have the original 429 page. We have the first one we did of the first 5 pages. And now we have the third one. Now we're going to take a look at document assembly. So document assembly, we've already seen it a couple times. Again, it's the thumbnails. The main thing to know for this is that you don't have to have it to where you can't read any of these. If you use your control key and you hold down your control key and you roll your mouse wheel forward or backwards, you'll be able to zoom in as much as you want to. You can zoom in there, you can have it here. There's other ways of viewing pages that we'll get into, but this is one way to go through your thumbnails like this, if it's only a couple pages. And there's also other view options. Like I said, we'll get into those, but document assembly allows you to do thumbnails pretty much of any size you want. So that's quite a lot of thumbnails. Okay, so the next section here is the combined files from scanner. This is the create section. This is exactly the same as we saw when we were in the new menu, and we saw all these options over here. And all right, the next section we're going to look at is the convert section. This basically allows you to convert PDFs into Microsoft Office applications, or here's WordPerfect. You can make it a searchable PDF, which we'll get into shortly. Just different formats. So you may have a need to convert it into Word. If you do, that's cool. It's easy enough to do. You click on the MS Word icon there, and then it gives you the options. Do you want to convert the whole document to current page you're on, or arrange? We're going to do the whole document. Unfortunately, ProLaw isn't listed in their document management systems that they support. They only go to Evernote for some reason. So that's just do not store. Now, under settings, you shouldn't have to change any of this stuff. You may want to uncheck the option for hyperlinks, because if you have that checked, what it'll do is it'll give you a document that you can actually click on the link. But if you don't want any hyperlinks to web pages included in the Word document that you create, you can uncheck that. And then that's pretty much it. So we click OK. We click OK, and we tell it what file we're going to make. That's fine. Right over that one. So now it's giving you a warning. It says, okay, the output file already exists. We know that. We're cool with that. That's our output file. Input file is the PDF. So now we're going to say yes, and now it's converting it. This is actually converting 429 pages. I wanted to use a smaller document, but I didn't. So I'm going to use the power of editing to get past this. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to make a PDF searchable. So up top here, we're going to click on this. We're going to make our PDF searchable. We're going to search this whole document and try to pull out all the words using OCR technology. Click OK. It's scanning the document. It's using the character recognition system to try to figure out what is what. And then when it's done, it'll tell us where it has any proofreading issues. So it's done. So now it's going to show us things that don't make sense, like that. This one here that says Congress month, you can see here that it seems to have a problem with the font more than anything else. So we go through that, and then same thing here. So there's a whole bunch of them, and then we go into things that just don't show up in the dictionary. So what we're going to do is, if there is a word that we know is repeated in the document often, then what we can do is we can just add it to the dictionary. So when we feel we're done proofreading, we can click on Document Ready, and so now it's ready to be searched. Proofreading is complete. Now we can search it. So now you go over here to search. So we're going to search the document. So when I tested this, I used the word Floyd because George Floyd has obviously been in the congressional record pretty much every day for the past month and a half. So we're going to use that as our benchmark to see how well this works. So if I type in the name Floyd and now do results, you can see I got 87 results, and they came up pretty quick. So you can go down to each one of these, and it shows you what the reference is to, and then you can go to the page. This is a really powerful tool that I'm sure all you, the attorneys that are watching this, will be able to get a lot of use out of, because it's an easy way to find the information. And if you're working with huge documents, you can see it doesn't take long to make the document searchable, so it's probably worth your time to do that. So the last thing on this is you'll see that the file up here at the top, there's an asterisk next to the name, which means that it needs to be saved. So when you open the document, it wasn't searchable. When you made it searchable, now it's been altered, so now it wants you to save it. It's your choice whether you want to save it as searchable or not. If you think you're going to be searching it and referencing it often, then you probably do want to save the document. You can save it as a different name if you want. You can call it whatever and then tag it as searchable. Or if you don't think you're really going to do anything with it as far as searching it anymore after you're done with it initially, then you can just not bother saving it. Okay, and now we're going to move on to the edit section. So the first thing we're going to look at is how to convert our documents to become editable. The sample document I've been using, which was the congressional record from June of 2020, is a locked document. They secure it so that people can't go in and change it and all that. So we cannot actually convert that document to be editable. But earlier we took a snapshot of the web page, as you see here. This is one that we actually created from the web page, and so this one is editable. So you'll see up here in the corner it'll say convert to editable. That won't be grayed out, so that's how you know if it's a document that can be edited. So we're going to convert that. When the box comes up, you pretty much want to just leave the options as they're set. The conversion method should be document. If you're creating forms, you can use the form option, but you really don't have to, even if you're adding form fields to a document, which I think most of you won't, but if you do, then you can check with me and I can help you get that set up. So leave conversion method set to document, leave conversion options set to adjust character spacing, and then click on convert. And it converts it fairly quickly. So here we have our converted document, and as you'll see, you can actually highlight text, change it. If I want to change homeland, I can change it to United States. You can come down here. So you can edit it. This is basically how you edit the information. It's not the same as annotating. This is actually like editing the underlying document. We'll get into annotating in a little bit here. So the other options under home, once we have our document set as editable, are basically the same as word processing documents, where you can change the size of the font, you can change the font itself, the weighting of the font, your paragraph, your alignments, all the stuff you normally would do when you're actually creating a document. So now we're looking at the View menu, and for this one we will pull up our congressional record of the Senate. So under View, you have your zoom options. You can either click on the icon and then you'll see that your mouse pointer turns into a little plus icon or plus pointer that you can click. You can do the same thing for zoom out. You'll see here on the right, it'll have the percentage of how much your zoom is percentage. An easy thing to remember is that if you just hold down your control key and use your mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out and you'll see the number change to whatever it is. That's a much easier way than having to go up and click zoom in or zoom out all the time. But there are a few other zoom options. There's this loop view. You click on that and then you basically click it on your document. And this is kind of like a magnifying glass view. It allows you to enlarge it like this. So now when you click in the middle of the blue box, you can see that it's kind of like a magnifying glass along the document. And that really helps when you have really small print that you just can't get around, or fine print that you want to look over without having to stick your face in the monitor. So that's loop view. Dynamic zoom just means that you click your mouse anywhere in the document, and then when you move your mouse up and down, it'll either zoom out or zoom in. So that's another way of doing it. Scroll options. Single page scroll means that as you scroll down using your mouse wheel, as it gets to the next page, you'll see it kind of snaps to the top of the next page. Say like that. If you do continuous, then that just means it's kind of like free flowing. There's no snapping or anything like that. Wherever or however long you use your mouse wheel, it'll scroll along. Facing has basically 2 pages. You'll see my zoom is in pretty tight, so I'm going to pull that back a little bit. So this is at 100% zoom. So you can see as you scroll down, it snaps again to the top of the next page. And then it has continuous facing, which is the same thing, except it doesn't snap. So you can see that where it rolls through each page. So we go back to single page. Page fit options, you can fit the page so that the entire page is in your window. Actual size is the actual size of the document. You make it so it's fit visible so that you can see it all the way across. Height and width. Those of you with the portrait monitors, you can use the actual size or play around with the fit height option to get more of the document on your screen. Full screen. I really don't know where this would come in handy for people working on PDF files, but basically it takes away the entire menu. It's kind of like a PowerPoint when you do a slideshow and you see everything in the full screen. But you know, I don't know why anybody would need this, but if you do, you can scroll between pages. I suppose it's good for presentations. And then when you're done, there's a option here to exit full screen mode, and that takes you back to the regular layout. Rotate view, clockwise, counterclockwise. New window. This basically overlays one copy of your document on top of the other. Sometimes this comes in handy when you want to compare. Change the skin. As you can see, the default skin is this purple color, but you can also do dark gray, light gray, or blue. Horizontal split. This comes in handy when you want to compare information at different points in the document. Like if you're looking for a reference and then you find that reference somewhere else and you want to compare the two of them, horizontal split's very good for that. Vertical split is the same thing, except it's left to right. Quad split, if you're really ambitious, you can have multiple windows going. Okay, the next tab is the comment tab. For this one, this is basically where you do your annotations on the document. The document has to be set for security so that you can annotate it. The congressional record that we've been referencing, that we downloaded off the web, that one we cannot annotate because they have it locked so that you can't do that. So again, if you wanted to do that, you would have to export it to a Word format, and then you would have to re-import it. But if you have a document that doesn't have that type of security on it that you can annotate, then there's a lot of different things you can do. So we're going to go back to our web page one that we dumped again, and you'll notice that when we did the when we made it editable, I changed Homeland Security to United States Security. I saved the file, so that's still there. That's permanently changed on that document. So now what we're going to do is we're going to edit, we're going to annotate. So there's several different things you can do. First one is the note. This is basically just a sticky note. So on here I'm going to put reviewed on 7/9/20, just as a little note to myself. I can put that there. I can close it, and it'll always be this little icon here. The author will be your network initials. That's my home computer ID, so that's why it doesn't have my network initials, but that's what the author would be. So if more than one person works on the document and they carry the annotations, then you would be able to see who annotated it. And you just double click on it to open it up again. Excuse me. Okay, text box. This is just adding text to a document. So I can make a box and I can type in here, let's see, we need to add another tab. So that's just a note that it's sort of the same, but not a sticky note. This can actually be embedded in the document if you're not going to use notes. You can just put this as additional information. Some of the things you can do with this is you can change the color of the box to highlight it more. You can change the color of the line around the box. So if I want the line to be black, I can change it. If I want it to be red. I can change the line width to make it thicker. There's a lot of things you can do with this. This helps if you want to annotate documents, like maybe you wanted to know that somebody reviewed it. You could say, okay, I want you to put a red box at the top of the screen and just put a note in there that, this document was reviewed on whatever date, that type of thing, so that everybody would see it when they go into it, kind of like what you would do with a working copy of a document. Okay, so we're going to get out of that. We're going to click over here to get back to our select tool. Oops, I didn't want to do that actually. Sorry, I want to do a hint. Okay, so now I'm back to where I have my options here. Okay, the next one is call out. Now the call out, what that does is it points an arrow towards a particular part of the page that you want to pay attention to. So for example, I click on call out, I put my cursor down here right above where this Senate tab is, and I click and hold, and I kind of drag and I move this over here so that it's highlighting this tab. So I could put need to redo this area. So, I want to redo the this tab. If I'm like the designer of the page or something, that lets me know that I need to redo this. Again, I can make it a different color. I can make the line width bigger to emphasize that I want to do this. For what we do and the documents that we work on, again, this may or may not be beneficial as far as doing things like having arrows point to particular sections or whatever. But, it's something that's there if you need to remind yourself, or if you're working with someone else on something that, this is something that has to be noticed or recognized. Okay, so now we have the note that we did, we have the text box that we did, and we have the call out that we did. You may have a document with just a whole bunch of notes. You may annotate a whole bunch of sections of a document. You may want to have those comments that you created put in one place. So if you have a 1,000-page document and you have a note on every 5th or 6th page of something that that needs to be pointed out on the matter that you're working on, what you can do is you can export your comments. So for this one, I did one here already, congressional record markup. So what this does is it takes all these comments and it puts it into one file. So then you can look at that file later and you can see, okay, what all did I work on, or what all do I have as far as to-do items as far as this particular document that I'm working on. So the create comment summary, same thing. It kind of gives us a summary of all the documents or all the stuff that we worked on. So here's a comment summary for this document. Again, I have a note up here, I have the text box, and I have the call out box. And this tells me what the notes were. My note here that says reviewed 7/9/20. So again, you could have a long document. You could create a summary of comments that has all the comments that you added to the document, so that you could spend your time reviewing the document, writing all the notes, and then come back to it later and say, okay, what do I have to do with this? I'll look at my summary of comments and it'll have it all listed for you, and it'll make it a lot easier for you to prepare whatever you need to prepare for it. And then you can also search comments. All right, so let's get out of here. And you'll notice too that here's your original document, and the summary of comments is its own PDF file. So if you want to keep this, when you click close, you have to make sure you save it. So now we have that saved. You can attach files to your document. I don't know if anybody would have a need to attach an audio file, but if you're one of those people that does a lot of, just voice annotations, not necessarily dictation, but if you're doing voice annotations and you want to sit there and you're, reading a section and you're like, okay, we need to do this, you can actually take that audio file and attach it to that point in the document too. All right, the next section we're going to cover is advanced processing. For advanced processing, we're going to open up our Senate copy of the congressional record, our 12-page version. The only one I'm going to go over on this one is the Convert Assistant. The rest of them, there are different things you can do. I don't know if any of you would be really interested in most of them. However, they're all a little bit more involved than a kind of an intro class to cover. So if anybody has any questions on any of these areas, I'm happy to help. But I want to touch on the Convert Assistant. So what we do is we have our document here. We're going to click on Convert Assistant. We're going to convert all of pages, so the entire document. So really what this does is it kind of makes it easy for you to convert either one or a whole bunch of documents at one time. So you can add documents to this queue. You can basically say what kind of document it is. Almost all the time it's going to be standard. What do you want to convert it to? Do you want to convert it to Word, WordPerfect, Excel? Just a rich text format that you can copy and paste into your own Word formatted document, like a pleading or a letter, whatever. And then really when you're done, you just click on the option to convert. So you can see that it's converting down here. Similar to what it did before, it's basically making this into a Word document. Now you'll see on this particular computer, I don't have Word, I have WordPad. So it's kind of chopped off here. You'll see here that it converts it as best it can, but it's not always formatted properly. It doesn't always pick up the words correctly. So really, if you're going to do this type of a conversion, and it's a document that's formatted like the congressional record is with the masthead and all that up here, then you'll need to expect that you're going to have to clean it up a little bit. But if you just want the raw text out of it, you can convert it as a rich text format and then copy and paste that into a Word document. So that's really all that we're going to cover on the Advanced Processing tab. Okay, now we're going to talk about the Security tab. For this one, we're going to pull up our web page because, again, we need a document that we can actually edit, that we can get, that's editable, that we can convert, that we can actually manipulate, not just read. So anything that has a security feature on it, you're going to have an issue with. But if you're creating your own PDFs that you have to sign, then you have to make sure that they're not locked and that you're able to sign them. So here's how you do your signature. And I know this has come up. There's two different ways of doing it. On the left-hand side, we'll cover these buttons here in a little bit. But there's a stamps panel where you basically like stamp your signature into the document. Or the easier way, I think, is the Security tab. If you go into the Security tab, the first option is handwritten signature, and then you have sign. So if you go into handwritten signature and you don't have a signature in place, it's going to take you to this screen where you decide how you want your signature to be placed. So the first option is draw my signature, and that basically lets you, whatever, do your signature with your mouse, which is, for most people, myself included, isn't going to work that way. So if you have your signature scanned, and you should, you can select here, import an image as my signature. And when you do, you're going to select the file. It's going to bring the signature here, and then you're going to name it. So I have a couple of these for Abe Lincoln already. So I think this is Abe Lincoln 3. So that's my signature. So that's all you do. So now if I want to put my signature in, I go into handwritten signature, place, and then I basically just draw the box where I want the signature to go. And then I can move it around, put it into the signature block wherever I want. That's the easiest way to get your signature into a PDF document. The other way of doing it is through the stamps, and I'll show you that real quick while we're here. You create the signature kind of the same way. You go in, you find your document. In this case, it's this one, signature PNG. So you'll see again here, Abe Lincoln. You put it under the category you want. I created a category called signatures. We'll call this Abe Lincoln 2. We'll add it, and so you'll see down here I have an Abe Lincoln. Here's the difference. When we did the signature the other way, where we went to the menu that actually said to place a signature, we could size the box however we wanted and move it around. So now we have a nice signature here. If I do the stamp and I say, okay, I want to put that over here, look how big Abe is. So you can edit it, you can reduce the size, but it's just absolutely huge. So you may not want to do it that way. But again, it's a personal preference thing. Okay, we don't do timestamps. If that ever becomes an issue, there are servers that we can configure. That's like the Navy has their nuclear observatory clock. That's supposed to be like, you know, the official time on the planet. And you can connect your program so that it always gets the exact timestamp. And you can put a timestamp in your document. But I don't see it where we're going to have to do that. But if we do, we have it there. Okay, now the clean document section. What this does is it works with getting rid of the metadata that builds up in your document. So as you'll see when I click on clean document, there's a lot of options here. There's bookmarks, comments, document attachments, deleted content. You got to remember, metadata tracks everything that's done with a document. So if you go in and you start comparing documents and you leave the information there, then the metadata stays, and anybody who gets a copy of the document, they can see what you did with the document. So that goes for bookmarks, that goes for attachments, and especially for comments. You don't want your comments to accidentally go out in the final document. And I'll show you how this can happen. Let's say I want to print this document. If I go File, Print, you'll see that it gives me the option of printing document and comments. So somebody may change this to document content, and they'll see that all their comments went away on what they're going to print. And that's fine if you're going to print it on paper. But if you're going to print it as a PDF, another PDF that you're going to send out, and you're like, okay, this is my, quote, clean PDF, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's clean, because that metadata, the underlying metadata is still there. So you got to understand there's a difference between printing a clean document and saving a clean document. So when you print, you want to go into File, Print, and select Document Content if you don't want your comments to show, and then you can print it and you can send that out. If you want to get rid of this and save it as a PDF because you think that's going to be a clean PDF, then you don't want to do it that way. What you want to do is you want to go to the Security tab and you want to click on Clean Document. Clean Document removes the metadata that you want to do. So anyway, what it's going to do is you're going to click on OK. I created a document here called Congressional Records Scrubbed. So it's scrubbed of all the metadata. So I saved, replace. So now you'll see that right away all that stuff disappears. And it's not just disappeared like it does when you print the document without the comments. These comments and all are gone. So if you want to get back to where your comments were, you have to open up the original file that you had that had the comments already in it. This is a scrubbed document, so they're all gone. Again, it's kind of important. So ask me any questions, you know, about this. I'm happy to go over it with you in greater detail. Remove document elements. You can see that this is kind of the gives you individual choices that were on the list I just showed you when we went into clean documents, where it basically just scrub the whole document. Here you can have it get rid of the things that you want to get rid of and leave on what you want to leave on. So let's say you want to leave on your bookmarks, but you want to get rid of comments and deleted content and, you know, all the rest of it, then you could do that. Okay, the Forms menu, again, that's not really an intro to Power PDF class type material. This is for people that want to create forms. We certainly have the capability to create forms. Pretty much any form that you see that we download currently, we could create ourselves. It's a lot of work, but we can create forms for that. We can create forms for administrative functions, things like that. But it's a little bit more involved, but I'm happy to talk to anybody that has any questions on that area. Okay, the last menu option is the Help menu. The Power PDF Help option at the very first one takes you to a web page. It's basically just the help file, and it's the manual for the program. So it kind of gives you bullet points on, you know, how to do different things. It's a good starting point. Of course, you can always ask me any questions you have, and I will try to find you the answer. Okay, the last thing I want to cover is the little bar here on the left-hand side. All right, so the first tool I want to look at on the left-hand side here is the hand tool. Sometimes people get confused between the hand tool and the select tool. The hand tool, as you can see when we're zoomed in a little bit here, if I click the mouse and hold the left mouse button down, you'll see that the hand turns into kind of a fist, like it's grabbing the page. So it's grabbing the page to pull it down, pull it up. That's what the hand tool does. The select tool is more used to select text. Like even if a document is locked and secure, I can still highlight information and I can still copy and paste it into another document. I can still select all that kind of stuff. So I can still do all this stuff. So that's what the select tool does. Okay, now we're going to look at the bookmark. And for this one, we need another document that we can actually write to, which for us has been this web page version of the congressional record. So click on the bookmarks. This is a really powerful tool that I think most people aren't using that maybe they can. This might help to organize where data winds up in ProLaw, how to find it real quick instead of, searching through pages and pages and lists of documents. So a bookmark just basically sends you to the place in the document where you want to go, like a bookmark does. So what we're going to do is on this one, we're going to set up several bookmarks ourselves. Can I do this one? Yes, I think so. Okay, so here at the top, we're going to go to New Bookmark, and we're going to do this one. We're going to call this top of page. So then you type in what you want to name it. You click on the little icon to the left of it, and then you go back up here, and there's a little map destination icon. You click that, and it'll ask you if you're sure about that. Yeah, we are. So that's the top of the page. So now I come down here, and I want to do, Daily Digest House Committee Meetings. So I'm going to create another one, and I'm going to call this House Committee Meetings. All right, so now this one I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click here. It's going to say, are you sure? And I'll show you something with this here in a second. But all right, so now we're going to go down to the bottom of the document, and the last one we're going to do is here. And we're going to create one more, and we're going to call this Congress .gov links. So this is to quickly get to our links down here. I type it in, I highlight that, do my destination, yes. Okay, so now I go here, that's top of page, House Committee Meetings. Now you'll notice that I have House Committee Meetings, and it's actually down here at the bottom of the page, but that was where I put in the bookmark. So technically the bookmark is here. I just named it that. So you always want to make sure that you have it, your scroll options, if we have it continuous, you want it where you want it to be before you do your bookmark. So if I get rid of this, I delete this bookmark, I create a new one, and we'll call this one HR CR Vol 166. So we're going to do that there. We're going to paste it or put our destination there. Click OK. So now I go back to the top of the page. Now I go back here, and it's right here. And then my congressional links are down here. So if you have a large document, as you all know, it's helpful to have bookmarks. And this is the way you put bookmarks in. It's real easy. And as you saw, you can right-click. If you make a mistake, you can just delete it. You can rename the bookmark. Or if you wanted to, you could go to the bookmark. But that's how you deal with bookmarks. All right. So here is the Pages panel. It's similar to the what am I thinking? The document assembly view. But you can see that on the Pages panel, it gives you this extra little red box so that you can kind of quickly go through pages. And if you're looking for something in particular, if I do my if I zoom out like this and then I go to my Pages panel, it might make it easier for you to find something rather than just scrolling. If you think it's okay, it's in this section, somewhere in here, you can find it quicker that way. So the Pages panel kind of comes in handy for that. We touched on stamps. I don't know if anybody would have a need for this besides signatures, or your signature, but if you do have to prepare PDFs for someone else, and you wanted to do like, sign and return, you could put that where they need to sign, just like the stickies. But there probably isn't a lot of use for this thing other than the signature stamps. Attachments are files that are attached to your document. These can include audio files, other documents that reference the document you're working on. There's a lot of different things you can do with this. My advice would be to play with this a little bit. Let's see. Let's try with this one. So if I take this one and I add it here, so this is kind of attached to it, but then I have to put in the document to reference it somewhere. It's kind of just like a cross-reference. This is a comments pane, so these are the comments that we put on this document when we first started earlier. Remember our note and our text box down here and our call out. You can see that when you do that, it actually highlights the box that you're in. So if you have a problem trying to edit and adjust the size of it, you can go to this, and this will highlight. It'll put the little handles on it and make it a lot easier for you to edit the data. And there's the sign and return. And it's also a quick way to get through the document. So if you had that summary document that we talked about earlier on one screen, and you have this document on the other, then you can go through your summary document and quickly jump to the area, the comment or whatever that you need to get to. So remember that the comments panel is there. It's real easy to work with. So that's basically it for the introduction to Kofax Power PDF Standard. Again, see me with questions. It's a really powerful program. You can get a lot out of it if you put a lot into it. It's definitely worth spending some time on getting comfortable with and using, and I think that you'll find that it'll be a lot easier to work with the documents if you use some of the tools that are available in the program.